Hello Padres and welcome to another video tutorial. This time we're going to solve for Newton's law of gravitation. We have three objects and they are in two dimensions. So if you recall, the equation for the force of gravity is big G m1 m2 over r squared. And so we're going to use that on the 4 kilogram object and the 2 kilogram object. So we're looking at the two objects on the left, and so I'm going to call that the force between object 4 and object 2. And so I have big G, which is 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11, and we multiply that times the two masses, which is 4 and 2, and we divide that by the distance squared. And when we plug that in, we get 3.34 times 10 to the negative 11 newtons. Awesome. So once again, that is the force between the 4 kilogram object and the 2 kilogram object. And now we're going to do the same thing between the 2 kilogram object and the 3 kilogram object. So we have force between object 3 and object 2. We have the same gravitational constant, 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11. We have our two masses, 3 and 2, divided by the distance squared, and the distance between those two objects is 2 meters. So we're going to plug in 2 meters down here, squared, for r squared. And we punch that in the calculator, and we get 1.00 times 10 to the negative 10 newtons. So what we're really looking at, we're looking at our 2 kilogram object, and it's getting pulled in two directions. It's getting pulled this way with a force of 1.00 times 10 to the negative 10 newtons, and it's getting pulled this way with a force equal to 3.34. These are the two values we just found. And this is also our force in that direction. So what we need to do is we're going to break down these two forces into x components and y components, and then we can add the x components together, add the y components together, and get a resultant force. So let's do that. So for the 3.34 times 10 to the negative 11, we're going to, like I said, break this up into our x part and our y part. So for the x part, we would have 3.34 times 10 to the negative 11. The x part is cosine, so we would have cosine of our angle, and the angle for this one is 30 degrees. And we plug that in, and we get 2.89 times 10 to the negative 11. So for our y part, we're going to have 3.34 times 10 to the negative 11 times the sine of 30. And we punch that in, and we get 1.67 times 10 to the negative 11. And we'll do the same thing for my other force. My other force is 1.00 times 10 to the negative 10. So for the x part, we would have 1 times 10 to the negative 10 times cosine of our angle. And if we go up, we can see the angle is also 30 degrees, 30 for both. We would have 30. Punch that in, and we get 8.66 times 10 to the negative 11. And for the y, we have 1 times 10 to the negative 10 times sine of 30, and that is 5 times 10 to the negative 11. Fabulous. All right, so our next step is to make sure our signs are correct. So for the 3.34, which is this guy here, it is going to the left. So our x value needs to be negative, and it is going up. So our y value is positive. And for the other force, it is going to the right. So the x value is positive, and it is going up. So the y value is positive. So the only negative we have is the x direction for the first force. All right. So now we're going to add these forces together. So the total. So the total for the x's, I'm going to add together. I'm going to add together this one and this one. So I get, I put that in the calculator, I get 5.77 times 10 to the negative 11 when I add them together. And then I'm going to add together, I'm going to add together this guy and this guy. And I put those in the calculator, and I get 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11. All right, so those are my total resultant forces in the x direction and the y direction. So the final step is to find the total force. It would be the square root of my x part and my y part. So that would be 5.77 times 10 to the negative 11 squared plus 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11 squared. And I enter that into the calculator, and I get a final force of 8.82 times 10 to the power of negative 11 newtons. And that's my final answer. Of course, I could also find the angle if I wanted to. I could use sine, cosine, or the tangent to find the angle. This is it. So if I had to count back the steps as a recap, my first step would be to find the forces, the two forces between my objects. The second step would be to take those forces and to break it up into x parts and y parts. The third step would be to make sure my signs are correct, make sure my positives are in the right spot and my negatives are in the right spot, depending if it's going left, right, up, or down. So remember, right and up are positive, and left and down are negative. And then my final step, and then I add them together. And then my final step would be to use the Pythagorean theorem at the bottom there to get my final force. All right, thank you very much. Hope you learned something from this. If you have any more questions, please email me or come see me. And have a great day, Padres.